And I told myself I wasn't going to do these. Deuteronomy 28, 43, 44. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. You know, sometimes I convince myself that either by chance or by design, that some of the things that you see these days are not to say identical, but they're reminiscent or they mirror what we've seen in the past. And it's come to my attention that I guess you could say forces used to use these words because as I look through different translations or different variations of the Bible, I see different ways of either interpretation or different ways of translation. For me, and I'm going to do my best not to point out to any particular study or field of thought, field of science, or religion, or for that matter, in terms of not using the words. But since there's so little of you, here, and so much less that will see this video, I think it's best to put it that way. And then somewhere in the ether, or by whatever, again, chance, maybe something will come out of it. The thing is, we forget, or maybe we don't, and we know. Some of us know. Certain ones know. Out of the many ways that these words, this verse could be interpreted, it is to say that, society, and I mean society globally, not for any particular side or country or whatever. And these are the times I wish there was some special language that I could speak that are like reminiscent of all languages so that I could, just for comedy or attention's sake, to speak this way. But there are things that we've wanted in the past, and they've become reality. While simultaneously, there's been lies of what we've wanted in the future, in the past, that have not, come to fruition. But who knows? Maybe they will one day. This in this crazy world where the verses I just said, I seen different interpretations as I was looking through them. Some of which, and this is particular for the modern day, they talk about how you should guard your ideas, or you should not allow for other people to know of it too much. In other words, there's people who are going to say, well, no, that's not it. It's actually about you know who you are as an individual, and a demon inside you that lives within you that can change into something else. The interpretation is of a Satan, a liar that lives within you, that's going to take over you and make you do things that you wouldn't do otherwise. I'm sure there's at least three other interpretations, but these are the ones that I've seen uh, in the last couple of days for that one in particular. I wanted to say mine, but I want to try to say it a certain way. And the great cosmic pendulum, and as pendulums are, it's typically seen in the mind's eye as if it goes right to left. And I don't know if any of you ever seen this. Probably you have. Maybe some of you have noticed it in school, or you've seen it in some type of YouTube uh, video where you have this pendulum and then you swing it. And if it swings for long enough, or there's a certain way that its energy is kept up, then it doesn't go just right to left or front to back anymore. It starts to go in this, you know, pattern or formation that goes from all over the place. And I think it's kind of like that. For our society, I believe it's the same thing. I don't want to give it any names, but at least I want to mark the day where I can say, hey, I didn't give it a name. Maybe the name already exists, maybe it doesn't. I'm just not the type of guy to coin a term for something, because then it becomes something that it's not someday in the future, some other time. Oh, he meant this when he said this. You can't do that if I never coined any term or if I didn't use any term. That's what I'm hoping for. But what happens is you have multiple different people that become groups of people, and those groups become bigger groups, and then those themselves become even larger groups, and they all influence each other in some type of weird symbiotic, sometimes mutually exclusive, but though they have their mutual exclusivity, they still somehow function as if they did not. Sometimes. Something that is within us, human beings, something that is within the individual as well as the group, transforms itself into something that we can't control. And one side is going to call it evil, the other side is going to call it good, or they're going to say this is just the way that it is, kind of like in a neutral terms. But it's really not. It's a lot more like it's a cause of something. It's, imagine, if you will, you had this great cosmic pot, you know, uh, like a cauldron, and then you have a group of people who each put what they want into this cauldron, and whatever comes out is an amalgamation or a combination of all these different things that everybody wants. And oftentimes, some people, because of what they put in there, is going to become more like one than the other. It's kind of like if someone comes along and puts a little bit of meat in there, someone else comes and puts a little bit of salt, but then one guy comes along, puts a whole bunch of sugar. Someone else puts, I don't know, like a bottle of alcohol in there, like a bottle of rum or whatever. Some girl over there comes along, puts a whole bunch of habaneros or chilies or whatever, and you'd think you'd have a spicy sweet thing going on, and then you realize no, it's not. It's a lot more like it's bitter out of nowhere for some reason, and you don't know why. And it's bitter for everyone. But then depending on who you are, it's either bitter sweet, bitter salty, bitter tangy. I don't know. Everyone's different, they have different taste buds. Long-winded way of kind of saying this cauldron that everyone puts their little bit of whatever of themselves or whatever they have into it becomes this head, as per the the verses. And we as a whole, humanity, or all of the groups put together, or all of the individuals put together, become the tail. Out of our control, or unknowingly, it was our control. It was what we wanted. We just didn't know that when we all would get what we wanted, it would just transform into this weird thing that everyone kind of gets what they want, but they kind of don't. And the individual then is the only one left. And they have to choose in their perception, or perhaps they won't. Or maybe it's not even their choice, what they make out of that. They can say, that was exactly my choice. That's what I wanted. There's some downfalls, but it is what I wanted and I accept it. While others might be, this is not at all what I wanted. And oftentimes you'll see it is just not particularly in the way that they thought it was going to come to life, I suppose. I wish that the certain group of people who would see these verses and they got into it and made it into something other than it was not. And then the people who originally were saying what these interpretations were start to get upset and they start to see that the world's coming apart. Perhaps in their time, when they were interpreting it, they were taking apart someone else's world. And they were heading it to the left or to the right, forward and backward, doesn't matter. Up into the sky, down into the earth. And now, these very same people, I guess, that were originally, not originally, but originally in the sense that the ones before, or, you know, before the ones they were before. Now they're starting to take over, but they've changed. They've become something else. And this new head takes it all somewhere to get it different. For the pendulum to go to another direction once again. This is the kind of thing that some would just say, oh, it's the idea of eternity. It's like this great cycle. I don't know. It doesn't feel like a cycle when you put it that it doesn't just go in two directions or it doesn't go in a circular pattern. It goes in all types of which ways. Maybe one day we'll figure out, or maybe we've already have, we get to choose where we go.